Coming in eighth place is Interstellar. One of the only movies that actually makes me like Matthew McConaughey. I am not a big fan of Matthew McConaughey. It's just one of those things. We all have those actors that you see him on screen and they kind of immediately turn you off. He's a brilliant actor, and I've seen him in a lot of movies. It's just I'm not one of his biggest fans, but I love him in this. Alongside Amy Adams, and then we get Anne Hathaway back from, right after The Dark Knight Rises, and we get Michael Caine back. An amazing cast, and spoiler alert, but this, I was talking about the stress test of like Saving Private Ryan. This is the same. I feel the same way about this movie when it comes to sci-fi movies. I have to strap in and really be mentally prepared and emotionally prepared to take this ride, because the last 20 minutes of this movie just decimate me. One thing you guys will learn as I continue this channel is I'm a pretty emotional guy. So movies take me on an emotional ride, which is why I love movies. They're supposed to. But I cry very easily. And the waterworks hit for the last 20 minutes of this movie straight. Definitely the last 15. I'm almost tearing up just thinking about it right now. And I don't have kids. And I'm not married. And I don't know if I'll ever have kids. So my point is, not being a husband, not being a father, I can't actually directly relate to what Matthew McConaughey is feeling. But self-sacrifice movies get me every time, my friends. And the weighty impact of what he and Anne Hathaway are accomplishing that nobody may ever know, that they saved the world. The selflessness of that, while knowing they may never make it back, that hits me hard. And watching your kids grow up with you being in a fifth dimension, and you not aging in that. Again, I could go Marvel and Quantum Mania and all that, but again, different dimension. So he comes back and he's 124 years old, and he sees his daughter at the end of her life. This movie, at the end of it, just rips me apart. And the visuals of this are just beautiful, like the water planet. Like how? That, like, it looks real. It looks lifelike and real, which is the brilliance of Nolan. I think this movie is where he's used the most CGI out of any of his movies. I could be wrong now that Tenet and Oppenheimer have come out, but I believe this still holds the bar with the amount of CGI he's ever used. Because for those who don't know, Nolan's idea, or kind of directing law, if you will, is if you can do it in real life, we're going to do it in real life. Which puts a lot of stress on the actors and crew, but damn, do they get things done. And I only put this movie in 8th place because I've only seen this movie twice. And I don't know if I can rewatch it again. Because it emotionally guts me. And beautiful way. But again, I have to be so mentally and emotionally prepared. And I can't have any like big stressors in my own life to watch this almost doomsday apocalyptic save the world movie with a lot of self-sacrifice. And again, if I felt that I was able to rewatch this movie more than I have, it would be definitely higher on the list. And again, I can only praise this movie because of how beautiful it is. And like I said, it made me like Matthew McConaughey for once. It's just, this movie just decimates me in the best way possible. In seventh place, we have Nolan's biggest Oscar winner, and that's Oppenheimer. And this is a top 15 favorite all-time film of mine, and it comes in seventh on this list. Just kind of shows you where the other movies are going to rank that are above this. And Cillian Murphy, I feel like you've been able to watch his career, even in like Batman Begins and Dark Knight Rises. You've been able to watch him grow as an actor, all leading to this culmination. And where you can make Senate hearings feel intense, and Iron Man feel like the bad guy and the asshole. Where you loathe Robert Downey Jr. You loathe Iron Man. The guy who, sacrificed himself to save the MCU. Like, are you kidding me? The fact that we saw him in Endgame and then we saw him in this, and he's such a terrible person and such a hateful person, just shows you, one, the brilliance of Robert Downey Jr. and the brilliance of Christopher Nolan. And this is one of the few movies where I'd argue that the few scenes that have nudity in them are actually necessary. And if you've seen this movie, you know what I mean. I just think when his muse, his mistress, is having him read while she's on top of him, that just impacts me, at least me personally, harder, because it's the epitome of love or intimacy and violence, war. I am the bringer of death. I'm paraphrasing, but I believe that's what it was. And that's what Oppenheimer turned out to be. I mean, in real life, but in this movie as well. And you can see how he thought that building this bomb was going to bring about world peace. And then the fallout of him emotionally dealing with how wrong he was. And he almost feels like he was a failure because of that. And heavy movie, dark movie, macabre movie. But again, it won the most Oscars out of any Nolan film. And nothing but an amazing movie. Top 15 favorite movies of all time for me. But it still comes in number 7. In 6th place, another unpopular opinion, as my channel says. But it's going to be Inception. And I'll give you guys a little teaser, but my number 1 and number 2 are tied for first of my favorite movies of all time. But we'll get to those later. But yeah, Inception coming in at number 6. Because like I said, I have to rank these epics somehow. And I will say that it's a coin flip with Batman Begins, which is going to be, for today, my 5th place ranking. But I go back and forth on these movies. So sometimes Inception is a favorite over Batman Begins, and sometimes Batman Begins, like today, is my favorite over Inception. This movie goes 7 layers deep, literally, and it's brilliant. I'm not a big Leonardo DiCaprio fan, like Matthew McConaughey. He's an actor that I normally just don't vibe with, but he's brilliant here. And you can see a very young Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Tom Hardy preview what is coming with The Dark Knight Rises. And I love that Nolan reuses actors. Like, if he works well with an actor, if he vibes with them, I love that, like, he makes this lifetime relationship with them. And that's a beautiful thing. But what can I say that hasn't already been said about Inception by people who are far more articulate than me or have had YouTube channels far longer than me? Oh, by the way, the first time I saw this movie, the ending annoyed the fuck out of me. I actually didn't like the movie because of that the first time I saw it. But I've rewatched it 4 to 6 times since then. So I definitely love this movie. I believe it's Ethan Page now, formerly known as Ellen Page. Ethan is a brilliant actor in this. And he, along with, the other cast, it's just star-studded. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. I need to look up to see, did they actually use a real train in that scene, or was that actually CGI? Because knowing what he's done with other movies, it wouldn't surprise me if they had a mock train running through, a made-up set. But that one might have been CGI. I'll have to look into that. But in this list of greatness, Inception comes in at number 6.